All right, good morning, everyone. I declare this meeting of Te Puna Kōrero open. Members are reminded that this meeting is being live streamed and to please use your microphones. To begin, I'd like to invite Taku to lead us in karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. He hia aki ana te atakura. He tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei, mauri ora.
Let's go, Wahinex.
We don't have any apologies today or requests to speak in public forum, so I'll move straight through to conflicts of interest. Are there any conflict declarations? There do not appear to be any. There are no notifications of extraordinary business, so we'll move through to the confirmation of minutes. We're asked to confirm the minutes of Te Puna Kōrero held on Thursday, 23rd of April 2026. I'll move those. That's seconded by Councillor Hayward. Any corrections or comments on the minutes? No, there aren't any. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Oppose? That is carried. That brings us through to item 7.1, the March 2026 Quarterly Regulatory Report. I'll move that to put that on the table for discussion, seconded by Councillor Filo, and I'll invite Karen to come and speak to the item. Kieran, do you have an introduction for this, or would you like to move straight through to questions?
I think this one we can just go through to the questions.
Okay, cool. I'll open straight away up to questions and comments from councillors. Councillor Lawler.
Thank you. I'm trying to track, because of our district plan's intention to enable brownfield development, I'm trying to track whether we're actually getting any. So I'm wondering about the graph on my page 43, which is the building consents graph. Is it possible for us to determine in our stats which are building consents for greenfields development and which are building consents for what I would describe as brownfields development?
Through the chair, it would be possible. We can have a look at the data for next time and just see how simple and effective it'll be. But in theory, yes, we have that information.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thanks for this great report. Page 55, health and safety. What's the other part of the graph?
That includes a few smaller things. Top of my head, I cannot recall what is in the other category.
I thought you covered them all pretty well.
Yeah, I think there's several small ones that don't come up very often, but they sometimes do. If you like, we can put that.
I wouldn't mind finding
just
out.
say what does occasionally come up.
Okay. Page 45, building warrants of fitness. 70% failed this audit. So I guess the legend on the graphic on the left there is the number of buildings inspected. Is that what it is?
1 second. That's the building warrant of fitness.
Yeah.
So
on the left, the legend there. No, the numbers down the side. Is that the number?
Sorry, that's the number of inspections.
It is.
Yeah. So you have in blue. That's the desktop ones, the ones that like paperwork, and the green ones, the ones we actually go to the site and look at.
Okay. So when we go to the desktop review, what does that entail? Is that just a phone call?
The desktop review is all the paperwork associated with the review done by the inspector, not our inspector, the independent one, and we review that paperwork and then determine if it passes.
Righto. Page 47, monitoring and enforcement. The Environment Court issued an enforcement order in December, and there's one case before the courts against the council. Is that the same item?
Through the chair, I'm not sure about that. Let's see, Nick.
Can you repeat where you're looking, Councillor Duncan?
Yep. So we're page 47, monitoring and enforcement.
Yep. And which graph is it? Sorry, I'm on my laptop. It's a little bit tricky to find where you're at.
It's hang on, let me just get down to it. It's actually in the text rather than the graphic. So monitoring enforcement is the paragraph between the two. graphs.
Can I come back to you
Yep,
and answer
right.
that question? Sorry.
Great. I love the idea of the dumped rubbish being added into antennae. That's clever. Good use of that. And the last one was animal control. We've got known dogs. The text tells me there's 5,540, but the graphic says 5,605.
Yeah, through the chair. Apologies, I caught that as well. The graphic is correct. It was just the text wasn't updated, so the graphic is the correct current known number of dogs.
Okay, and last question, page 56, the strategy and policy team brought 51 reports to ELT and council in 2025. Are they 51 unique reports, or are the 26 papers brought to ELT the same as those brought to council?
Through the chair, they are the same topics will come up.
Okay.
That'll include workshops as well, then to go into TPK.
Great. Okay, thanks.
I've got Councillor Hayward.
Atamari, mātua upoko me he kai kanahira. Ngā mihi ki te kaimahi mo tēnei mahi o tēnā take. He pātai. Thank you very much. I want to go to page 12 of the report. It is, for those, 51 on diligent. Uncontrolled dogs. I accept that there may be multiple requests for the same dog, so let's cover that as noted. But what work are officers doing to at least help us understand whether the nature of the complaints that are coming in are being actions or are being at least ascribed to a dog? Because the reports could be one thing, but actually what we probably need is a little bit more detail about the activity on the ground in that instance. So can officers go into that?
Through the chair, the work we have underway to update Datascape will answer those questions a lot more effectively. If you would like sort of a more anecdotal update from animal control now, we could provide that.
I'm happy to take it, but I just think that in terms of reporting for subsequent sessions, do we have a time frame on the likelihood of changes within Datascape that will enable that kind of work when that would happen?
Through the chair, not at this stage, but we will absolutely have a proper update for the next quarter from Datascape. Yeah.
Further to that, can I take comment at this stage?
Yep.
Thank you. I guess this has been a perennial issue. Sorry, before I get into comment, there's one more question. Hutt City Council have detailed some work in terms of changes to their patrols. Is that work being observed by Porirua City Council, and do officers have any commentary about whether that could be applicable to the Porirua situation?
I'll just refer to animal control.
Cool.
Through the chair. Yes, Councillor, I have had conversations with the provider of those extra services for roaming dogs. Unfortunately, it's a sort of pilot program at the moment. They haven't seen any decrease in the statistics of their roaming dogs, even though the service they provided was 4 hours per day, Monday to Sunday. And so they are meeting again to discuss and review what's not working. So I'll be watching that to see how that plays out.
Thank you for your answer. One more sub on that before I get to comment. As is alluded to in the report, it is possible, because of the heightened public interest from other incidents across the Motu, that it may be representing an increase in reports. Is it possible, and you can tell me to go jump in a lake, but is it possible that the circumstances with Hutt City may be because it's also dealing with the same uptick in reporting, and it may be clouding the reliability of any trial, any pilot that might be happening at this time?
Although for Porirua, we've seen a 30% increase in roaming uncontrolled reports this year round. We don't necessarily attribute that to an increase in the ground on roaming dogs, more that the media interest in both Auckland and Northland have really brought that to the front. And the public, I feel, are more diligent in reporting roaming dogs, and social media comes into play now, and you'll see that if there is a dog out, the public are reporting on each other, and that's actually in turn, you know, to a benefit as such, because, you know, by the time we might get out there, the dog owners already contained their dogs. So we've got that playing out as well.
Okay.
I've got a sort of a statistic that may help show our picture of after hours roaming dogs.
Happy for you to share it.
So when I looked at the extra project Hutt City were doing, I thought to look in what's happening in our after hours situation for dogs. So I'll just find it in here. So there were approximately 54 jobs for roaming dogs after hours, equating to just 13.5 reports per month, average of 3.3 a week. 11 of the 54 reports were attended that met the criteria of public safety. However, only 2 of the reports required action, with 1 dog being contained to its property and the other being impounded. Of the 9 other jobs attended, dogs were either not located or they were reunited, didn't meet the criteria in the end. So that just paints a bit of a picture of what that looks like and whether we should be having a higher level of service in that area.
I really appreciate the detail in that response, and I hope that future reports will also be able to give that nuance as well, because that's the bit that I'm kind of missing in terms of our ability to respond. I'll take comment now and then and then finish up. As I said, this is a perennial issue, and it is one that has is trending up right now, but it still remains a big part of the mahi that's been done by people on the shovel. Nothing that I say here is to diminish the mana or the mahi that has been done by the individuals in animal control. They're trying to do the best job that they can and working with other partners in this regard. I want to make that absolutely clear. Secondly, as governors, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are going into depth with regard to the data so as that we can build a more comprehensive picture and, if necessary, discuss whether or not we need to put in additional measures as well to improve our level of service, but also to provide safety to communities. I note that with regards to, for instance, the Far North District Council, they are the council up there are awaiting options on what additional measures they may do up there. I will be looking forward to seeing their deliberations on that. Likewise, we've heard efforts by DIA and the Minister and central government around wanting to look at changes around the dog control legislation. Those are 2 areas where we have no control over it. I think for me, while I would want us to look at how we can respond, we need to have better clarity on the data moving forward to help us inform that decision from a policy perspective. I'll leave it there. Kia ora koutou.
Mayor Baker.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Councillor Duncan's with the building warrant of fitness being failed, what actually happens? Do they get red stickered? Do they lose their insurance? Does it end up back in our city if something happens, something major happens to these buildings? Because obviously we can't have that many failing.
I can go through the chair. Thank you for the question, Mayor Baker. There's a series of steps that we go through before we get to a point where the warrant isn't escalates. So they have a certain amount of time before they can produce certain pieces of work. We get evidence that they've done it, and we escalate to a point where we may have to then take more serious action around that building being not fit for purpose. So it's a graduated scale of requests that we have to apply. For the detail of that, I can seek the actual steps and the detail from the building assurance team if you'd like that.
That would be interesting, because they obviously can't repair these buildings, and if we then come along and take them to court or find them again, we're getting nowhere. But we have buildings that are decrepit, as we know out here in our city centre. So I just wanted to know legally where we stood. It doesn't come back on us.
No. Can I just answer the other question while I have the floor, please, Chair? So just sorry that it took me a bit to find your question, Councillor Duncan. I can confirm that they are two separate cases. The abatement is around earthworks, and the court case is around process judicial review. Sorry about that, and thank you.
All right, any further questions, comments on this report? Don't appear to be so. So just as a reminder, we're just receiving this report. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move through to item 7.2, the March 2026 Quarterly Growth Report. Karen, we're still with you. Any introductory comments or straight into questions?
Through the chair, just one brief comment to begin with. You'll note in there a reference to a system issue at MSD that prevented the reporting of social and emergency housing data. That's now been addressed, and the latest data will be included in the next report.
Cool. Thank you very much. Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thanks once again for the report. The quality of the graphs were pretty rude, pretty hard to read some of the numbers in them. That's just a comment.
Yeah.
Page 78, employment graph only goes to September 24. Why is that?
That was the
Employment?
employment.
Yeah, page 78 of the report.
Through the chair, I'll double check that. It may be that it is December, but the scale of the graph just cut off at September.
Thanks.
I've just realised I forgot to move it to get it on the table, but I note that Mayor Baker has proactively seconded that. So thank you very much, Mayor Baker. On that, do you have any questions, comments? No. Councillor Leggett.
Thanks for the report. I think it's really useful. Just a couple of points. Can I just ask, because it comes up in some of the other reports, the Grays Road site, can you tell me exactly where that is? Because I get confused because it got mentioned amongst other things.
Do you want to answer that? Just looking at Derek, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
Are you going to answer that, Derek? Sorry, was that? If he wants to come forward?
I will. I'll answer it.
Yep.
So,
Go for it, Nick.
so the Grays Road site is off Moe Street, and what was commonly referred to as Granny Grays, if people know that. So behind Moe Street, looking towards Kākaho, towards the inlet. So behind Plymouton Farms is the Grays Road site. Yep.
So that's the one where Grace Farm is up that stream there, where those platforms are.
No, it's the other side.
The other side.
Okay, so let me explain it really clearly through the chair. The Kākaho Valley is at the end of the Pauatahanui estuary, where you've got the Pauatahanui stream. That's not the Grays Farm site.
Right.
That's called the Glen. That's been consented. The Grays Farm site is the one that's behind Plymouton Farms as you're coming up from Grays.
I know where it is
there?
now.
Yeah,
I was
good.
confused about the two.
Thank you.
So, sorry, that was just a general question. The page 76, Poirua's economic growth. We didn't give any examples of economic growth with from our neighbours, Wellington, Hutt Valley, Upper Hutt, Kapiti. I just wonder whether you could make any comment about that, or whether potentially we could include that in the next report.
Yeah, through the chair, we get that through Infometrics, so we definitely do have some comparisons within the region. I'm not sure if it's every council, but next report we can include that information there so you can see the different tracks.
Thank you. That's me. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Lawler.
Yes, this might be a question for later, but I do find the data from Kāinga Ora about the number of additional social homes moves around a lot, and I think it's because often the data is counting different things. So at our presentation from Kāinga Ora, what I remember is a suggestion that at the end of the community renewal process, with the refurbishments, with the sales, with all the various moving parts, we would have 47 additional houses. So when I see 186, then I'm assuming some of that is money already available for the Pacific Housing Trust. I don't know, and possibly you can't answer now, but it would be good for that information to be crystal clear about what we're counting when we talk about additional homes. Kia ora.
Any other questions or comments? No? All right, again, noting we're just receiving this report, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Opposed? That is carried. We go through to item 7.3, the strategic priority reports, Awarua-o-Porirua, our harbour. I'll move the motion. It's seconded by Councillor Hayward, and I'll invite Julian to comment.
Cool, thank you, Chair. It's great to be back to talk about the harbour. And I've brought the gang with me today.
Excellent.
I'll just wait, Chair, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll just wait a moment.
Right, through the Chair, I'd like to welcome Jimmy from Greater Wellington. You'll know Robert from Ngāti Toa, Henk from Wellington City Council, and Sarah from Wellington Water. This is the steering committee of the Harbour Accord, and just taking some learnings from the workshop, it's really good to have us all united around the table. And this is doing something different for the Accord, is showing up as a group and having those conversations. I'll take the report as read, obviously, but just a couple of little updates. Robert was lucky enough to be working over on Mana Island in the weekend on our action plan. Councillor Leggett might like to know that we are looking at the Erosion Zero working title, and that will probably change. And early July, we have our CEs meeting where Te Aki Wai will be signing the Harbour Accord with us. Thank you. Any questions?
Brilliant, cool. I'll start with Councillor Leggett.
Okay, it was great to hear that. I just had a couple of questions. Can you, I was just slightly confused in here. I've asked previously about total number of hectares replanted, and there are a variety of figures in here, I think. I just wonder whether you could, are you able to update on total number of hectares planted since the program began, not since the Harbour Accord was signed?
Through the Chair, what I might do is the Parks team have got a new dashboard, and it talks through all of the planting that PCC has done, and I can come back and give you that info.
Yeah, no,
and then make sure it's really clear in the next one.
That's great. Thank you very much. In the report, it talks about the Environmental Cadetship Program.
Yeah.
How long, and a couple of others as well, how long is there funding for that program to continue?
Sure. Through the Chair, I understand KO and the Parks team have been working really close, and Ngāti Toa, around extending that program due to the consent conditions around the planting and revegetation. So I understand there's a couple more years. It was meant to end this year, and I do believe it's got the funding they've extended. I have heard around 2030. So yeah, it will be extended.
That's great. That's great. Thanks. Can I continue? Sorry. Goes back to the previous reports as well. The monitoring and enforcement and spot checks and notices, etc., and please explain letters. Can you make a commentary about how successful do you think this has been in terms of, where we were before? Because we did put an emphasis on these sorts of things. Is it having an effect, do you think?
Through the Chair, and I'm looking at Nick. Councillor, I'd have to come back to you on that.
No,
I just got the figures from them.
It's very difficult to measure, as is as we describe it. But there's two aspects to that. One is the stuff that Nick does. The other is the stuff that Wellington Water does with the Know Your Pipe. So they both have regulatory arms to them. So I can only say that I cannot see that they would not be positive in terms of the impact on.
Neither can I, but I just
But I
wondered
can't-
whether you could give some examples of where it's been successful. Might not have put that emphasis previously, that's all. Don't have to do it now. That's
No,
fine.
no, I
That's
think there's a
fine.
really good example that Wellington Water's just found that leak at the Kahotia stream, which just one property, I think it's going to make a massive difference to the harbour.
Great, okay. And then page 106, the cockle count, which is a really positive thing in terms of, the highest recorded mean population since 1992. Given all the other things, positive things that are happening, despite everything else, the harbour, would that not be an indication that the harbour, at least the Pāwatanui Inlet, is healthier now, given the cockle count?
Through the chair, yeah, thanks for having us back. Sorry, I got a tick on my throat, but yes, I would agree. I think the cockle count been run by Gopi for many years now is a positive sign for the health of the harbour overall. It doesn't tell the whole story, of course, but I think it is a positive sign.
So maybe we should expect to see some positive indications from the other monitoring that we're doing over time as well?
That's the hope. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's a great report.
Councillor will be even happier when we can actually eat the cockles, right? For us, that's
It's a goal.
Councillor Hayward.
Ngā mihi ki a koutou mō tēnei mahi. First of all, we covered this obviously in the workshop and the particular issues, but I wanted to just dig into the detail just a little bit further. With regards to the work program and the additional actions, or at least the actions that are going to be detailed in that, my understanding is that we'll see more of that as we get closer to Matariki. Is it likely that that work program will make it clear what is differentiated between, for lack of a better phrase, BAU, and those new initiatives that have been highlighted or are being foreshadowed for work? Can I get some clarity around that?
Do you want to go, Jimmy?
Well, through the chair, kia ora tautau. Yeah, I think that was one of the key indicators that we heard from the CEs and chairs of the partners, that we wanted to make sure that what we're doing wasn't just dressing up BAU, that we were making a difference and coming up with new initiatives that we thought were going to make a difference. So a series of workshops that we've run over the last year have looked at a range of actions and prioritised them based on their effectiveness and feasibility. So that's so we will be identifying, I think, in this plan, we could, a way of showing what is new potentially and what is above what we were doing. And a lot of that might not be new money, but it's also joining up programs between agencies, which I think will have a massive value. And we've seen that a little bit already in some of the restoration and erosion prone work we do in partnership with Porirua City and Greater Wellington. So, yeah.
Sup on that. So obviously this is an opportunity for Porirua and other interested partners to leverage off the work that each other does, not just with Ngāti Toa in terms of monitoring, but and the mahi on the ground, but also councils as well in terms of their biodiversity actions as well. Am I not wrong in presuming that that's an opportunity there?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. And even stakeholders like NZTA and Kiwi Rail, we want these people, our developers, our development community, we want these people in our waka helping us restore the harbour.
Okay. My next question is, obviously, once we get to that stage of both Te Aki Wai, formally being involved, as well as the launch of the more detailed work program and action plan, how does the group intend to report back to council, and how frequently? What are the timeframes around that?
So as a strategic priority, we will be reporting to you annually, but in between, there are a number of projects in the major projects report, for example, where we will continue to provide you with updates.
Okay, excellent. In terms of this work, there are some inherent risks involved in detailing the work program. I'm assuming that there has been some mahi done in terms of trying to catalogue that work. Can someone give some commentary in regards to that?
Oh, kia ora tata, through the chair. By inherent risk, are you referring to obviously things like some of the rates capping and some of those other challenges that we face?
I think it's usually, it's a challenge that's going to be faced across everybody, right? The ability to maintain consistent funding for initiatives, whether it's one council or all councils, the potential risk of amalgamation, also challenging, the deployment of some of these measures because partners are leaving. I will come back to the particular issue of enforcement of existing consents. If there's no regional council to play that role, how do we make sure that we've mitigated that risk in terms of deployment of this work program?
Oh, kia ora. I think all I can say on that is that obviously this initial action plan that we're coming up with, our commitments at this point in time will be for that 26-27 as we're still moving through that LTP process. So we can certainly commit to that. But I think certainly at Greater Wellington, we're looking at our annual plan of 26-27, setting a strong indicator of the change that we're looking to make in the Porirua space around the Accord and through the actions we're taking. So, kia ora.
One comment. I think there will be nobody around this table who isn't enthused with the idea that the mahi that has been done thus far has been a significant change from previous attempts on this and previous cycles and iterations. So please consider a warm mihi to you all in terms of carrying on with that. I am particularly enthused about the new opportunities and the new tasks that can be done, and the synergy that comes from working with other partners and working smarter and not necessarily harder. Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora.
Right, I've got a little bit of a list here. I've got Councillor Duncan next.
Yeah, thanks for this report. It's pretty comprehensive, all right. Mine's a specific question, actually. I recall the real problems we had with galvanised iron roofing around the city and the problems with the heavy metals that was contributing to the harbour. But I think we brought in sort of bylaws or whatever to stop galvanised iron being used around coastal areas. But do we monitor those older places that still have the galvanised iron roof?
Through the chair, you're right. The district plan was the place where we changed the settings around the requirements of roof. I think, around what was used for roofing. Monitoring is a very good question, actually. I can't answer that, and I'm not sure that we do. So I will follow that up. A good question.
Is that everything from you, Councillor Duncan? Councillor Lawler.
Thank you. It's a very helpful report. Thank you. I have 3 questions. One is more about the structure of, I can see the CEs group, the steering committee. We haven't seen the action plan yet, and maybe that will make this clear, but it's not clear to me how the various harbour groups are sort of structured into this. I get that on the ground people are working together making stuff happen, but where do they fit in this in terms of communication or input or I guess that's my first question. Do you want all of them at once?
Just the first for now, I think would be good, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair. So we've just recently pivoted into this model. We were pretty much one coordination group. And we got to a point where we were starting to lock down all the actions and progressing that. So we brought up a steering committee, and then under the actions are all the different groups, which again will be talked about during within the action plan. So we have members within each working group which come up to the steering committee. We're meeting after this actually, and they're all coming in. So there's a whole lot of cross communication and pollination, if you want to call it that, around to keep us tight and to keep us on track.
Sorry, we had one more comment on that.
Through the Go ahead.
Kia ora, through the chair. Councillor, through this entire process of bringing all of these teams together and discussing these action plans and how we approach that, a lot of connections has been made through workshops. So it's actually trickling down all the way from the steering group all the way through to the actual teams on the ground. So it's actually bringing all of these entities together to work it in one space and share their ideas and information.
My second question is similar to Councillor Leggett's in terms of how we track the results. Like Focus Area 7 Harbour Monitoring has a lot of good information. And so I wonder about the activity snapshot. The activity snapshot talks about what we're doing. Have we considered a snapshot that helps us monitor trends in terms of our results? Like, is there less siltation? Are there more cockles? I mean, in a way, the information's there, but it's sort of presented in a series of words, and I wonder whether that could be done in more of a kind of trend way, so it's really clear that all of this activity is improving the quality of the harbour.
Through the chair, that's exactly what we're working on, and you've actually phrased it really well. We're looking at the outcomes, what we're looking for, the health of the harbour, how we measure those outcomes, and then the actions that contribute. So looking at trend data going forward on a whole range of indicators. But it really happens when you have these joined up agencies having a collective monitoring program, and we're not just doing things in silos. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And my last question is probably more to council. In terms of both this work, I look at the monitoring and compliance and also the previous report on quarterly growth. It reminds me of the very brief conversation we had about some sort of master plan in the Northern Growth Area, and I wonder where that fits and whether we have some more information coming on that process.
I'll invite Nick to speak to that.
Thank you, through the chair. So there is actually some information coming to you in your email from Wendy this week about the sediment controls, how the flood impacted the sites in the Northern Growth Area, and how Greater Wellington, Porirua City are working together. So Greater Wellington has a large scale on earthworks. We have the smaller scale, working very tightly with the developers. So just as an aside, that's coming to you so you can see that picture. In terms of the master plan, that's coming back to you after June. That's been on hold while we have the conversations with NZTA and some of the stakeholders around some of the intricacies in the master plan design. So that is coming back, I think it's late June, to workshop that again around what the spatial plan looks like.
Mayor Baker.
Thank you. It's awesome to have you in here as a group. You are working exceptionally well, and it was great to see the cadet money actually get rolled again, so I'm pleased with that. Growing up here, we were brought up with the dredger. Interesting to see it sitting here. I know that is obviously the regional councillor that lives in my house. For me, dredging is channels only. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but really it's only the Porirua stream and opening the channel to flush the harbour. So that's just from our previous mayor that I'm saying that. Just nice to see the word there. Not pushing you to do anything, but really impressed with all your rubbish cleans that you've had recently. We're pulling out all the trolleys. What are we doing with the trolleys? Are we finding the supermarkets to get them back? Because as a harbour group, I'd like you to look at some way of stopping these people. It's not the people, but if you don't stop the supermarkets letting the trolleys go, you're going to keep pulling them all out. So I think your group, because you are such a fantastic group together on the ground, can do something about that. So I'm just going to throw that back at you. I know I don't have the power to do that, but I really appreciate what you're doing.
I really appreciate that. It's a good action.
Councillor, we're happy? No? I thought I caught your hands. No, that's okay. Do you have any questions? No, okay. Councillor Waddle.
Easy on the supermarkets, Mayor Baker. Absolutely right, though. And it's not just supermarkets, all the retailers with large metal objects that people can take and use for anything. My question's sort of around that harbour monitoring. We've obviously got the Proteus probe in the harbour at last year. and it can give us access to real-time data. Is that data going to be made public, and is that, or is there going to be a portal where we can access that data to see? Because I'd imagine there'd be a lot of people in the community that would be very keen to see that.
It's our intention to make that publicly available. That's the whole point. It's not ready yet, but it's not far off.
Fantastic. And just a follow-up, I guess this is the strategic priority report. Where to next? Are we going to get a quarterly report like we're getting with the growth and report? It was? Sorry, I was away with the ferries.
Any final questions, comments from councillors on this paper? There don't appear to be. Yeah, no, great work. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and speaking to us. And just a note from me, I really like this format where we get everyone in the room at the same time to talk through. So more of this is outstanding. Thank you. Noting again, we are just receiving this report, councillors. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. That takes us through to our final paper for Te Puna Kōrero today. That's our 7.4 Development Contributions Policy 2026. I'll move the motion for discussion. Councillor Leggett seconded that, and I'll invite Matthew to provide opening comment.
Thank you very much. Through you, the Chair. So today we've got the 2026 Development Contribution Policy, which has been drafted to respond to the Local Government Water Services Act and establishment of Te Aki Wai. This policy change is purely to remove the three waters aspects of our previous policy to allow Te Aki Wai to charge development contributions under their own policy. I think two key things here is that we'll be looking to bring another development contributions policy to you next year that will be fully reviewed along with the long-term plan, or a similar timeline to the long-term plan. And so we can address any broader issues there. And then just finally, also relevant is we have development levies bill coming in likely in the beginning of 2027 to start in early mid-2028. So we'll be back here to discuss development levies and the new policy that goes along with that one as well.
Cool. Thank you very much, Matthew. So yeah, noting obviously that there'll be an opportunity at a later date for other substantive changes. This is relatively procedural around Te Aki Wai. Are there any questions or comments in relation to that specifically? Councillor Leggett.
Just as clarification on the schedule that we've got, table 1, so that is the existing schedule as it was, minus water. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So any potential changes will be next year. Yeah, fine. I mean, to me, it was a good revision about how comprehensive our development contributions policy is and all the work that goes into that, even though you can question bits and pieces of it. So thank you very much for that. It was useful.
Councillor Waddle.
Yeah, very straightforward here. Just want to know, obviously now Te Aki Wai are going to be sending another bill to developers. Are we going to be assisting them like we are with their water bills from 1 July?
Through you, Chair. Yes, that is the intention at this stage, is that we will be supporting them through the administration of development contributions until they're up and running for themselves.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, just a comment. I was really pleased in the introduction there that to see the LGWSA 2025 was reviewed by Simpson Grierson. I was bloody pleased to see that because there was a lot of stuff to read through there. So thanks very much for that.
All right, I'm not seeing any other hands. So yeah, I'm noting for this one, we're obviously receiving the report recommending that Council adopts the proposed DC Policy 26 with the removal of all water services related information and delegating authority for minor changes to the CE. I will put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. That brings us to the end of our business for Te Puna Kōrero for today. I will note that we will have seconded by Councillor Duncan that we'll be moving through into public excluded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, there's carried. Thank you very much. We've moved into public excluded.